So welcome everybody to this interview with Karen Reedstrom, who's been using Midjourney 4 and version 5 in various projects. The most notable was creating artwork for a live concert and creating artwork to go along with the music that was projected onto a screen as the music was played. So quite a unique project, and we've got some other projects to talk about as well. Karen's been using digital art for quite some time. She's mostly been using Vue in the past, creating beautiful CG environments since version 4, and has published many renders, winning awards and actively taking part in contests over the years. She's been a long-time vendor on the former Cornucopia 3D store, creating objects, plants, skies, and more. Professionally, she's used her illustrations for clients such as Ford and creating artwork for movie one-sheets and book covers. And she's now utilizing Midjourney generated art for these new projects as well. So welcome, Karen, and thank you for talking to me today.
Hello.
So let's begin with your Midjourney art that was used especially for this concert. Perhaps tell us about the band first, which is Arlo Byrd.
Here's the poster.
Oh, perfect. So tell us what kind of music he plays and tell us a little bit about his band.
His band is called the Celtic Tribe Band, and Arlo Byrd is called the Celtic Indian. So he's part Native American and part American Scottish. And the Native Americans and the Scottish intermarried a lot because they were both tribal people that liked flutes and war and drums. So they had a lot in common. They understood one another. And because they were tribal type people. And this was for St. Patrick's Day. And I made this in Midjourney. I just added the text, everything in Photoshop, and this is Arlo, and this is the band right here. And so I created for his songs a series of backdrops to tell the story of the songs. And so what I can do is I will open up, this first one's called Shipping Off to Boston. I'll just kind of show you the scenes first. So it's basically telling the story is this guy was working on his ship and then he fell. And then they had to cut his leg off. So it's all about going to Boston to get his wooden leg. So this is one of the renders I made. It had a leg there, but I had to cut it off in Photoshop to make the story. So here's another one. I had to cut the leg off and Photoshop it. So you can see I did a lot of these in this I had to cut the leg off and put the so what's really cool is this last little guy, for some reason it just came up when I was doing the one-legged guy. And so I photoshopped this leg in there, to keep the continuity right there. You see on the right-hand side.
Yeah. So this is what, the turn of the century?
Yeah, 1800s.
Yeah.
So this is what I did. This is the text that the inputs I use. So 1800s, angry sailor sitting on the deck with only one leg, high resolution, hyperreal, photoreal, high detail, volumetric lighting, and aspect ratio 16:9, because I wanted that stage size. Now, the projector was not a high resolution projector. So at first I was trying to think, I have to make really high resolution photos, but I didn't. So that was pretty good. I think, what was can't remember offhand now. I think I did kind of medium high resolution, because anything other would be overkill and it wouldn't be noticed. So if you can see the difference also in how kind of dull looking this is. This was the original with the leg, and this is the one I did in Photoshop. And if we have time, I can show you how to bring out all these beautiful bright colors. I have a whole technique in Photoshop how to do that. So again, I started out with 1800s. One-legged sailor. Of course, it gave me a leg, so I had to remove it.
Yeah, those color differences between the original, the raw image, and the ones you've done work on in Photoshop make a huge difference. They really pop. They really shine, these images.
Yeah, and I can show you how to do that if we have time.
Yeah.
So you can see 1800s is the same. This is Angry Sailor. And so I kind of picked guys whenever the prompt would give me a bunch of choices. It sort of looked similar. And it also seemed like the bot was kind of understanding what I was going for some reason, because it was, even though this guy and this guy's a little bit different, when you're on this, looking at the stage, you're watching the band, you're seeing these, they're maybe just maybe 10 seconds each. That's how many different ones I had. So the thing is consistent with high resolution, hyperreal, photoreal, high detail, volumetric lighting, and the aspect ratio. So I kept all of that the same, and it really kept me with the same consistency. Same thing here, 1800s, and then the same hyperreal, high resolution. So I basically put the peg on there, fix the colors.
So you got that consistency you were looking for.
Right. Now here's the 1800 sailing ships. I always had started with 1800s, so the bot knew what time period it was. That's always the first thing I start with. Then the sailing ship, highway, and then the same thing, high resolution, same thing. So I get the same kind of feel for everything.
I've noticed that in Midjourney that if you put in a year, it's good at referencing, those images in its huge library, and it does kind of nail it, doesn't it? It does seem to bring that context into the image really well of the year in question or decade in question.
So if you notice, this is the same high resolution. So all I change is a ship's doctor holding a saw with a sailor on a cot with a bad leg. Now, I didn't get everything I wanted, but that was the best one I got. Then the guy sort of looked like the fella. So I think I might have photoshopped his face a little bit if he had a longer beard. They got 1800s, all that's the same. Sailor lying on the deck of a ship looking dead with the shipmates running to help. And that worked out great. And then there's whiskey in a jar.
Here we go. Here's the video, the accompanying video.
I did some skies. And what I did, because it was on the stage and it was going to be kind of washed out, I tried to super saturate a lot of the colors so they would stand out more. So just a little country cottage house, the man walking there. The guy's a highwayman. So here's a fellow, this is the captain counting his money. Now the guy on the left is the highwayman that the song is about. And so what I did was I took this fella's face and I photoshopped it on the character, and I photoshopped in the bag of money he's got in his hand right here, because it wasn't ever giving me everything I needed.
That's great. And
here's the guy here, the highwayman. I photoshopped this in there, and I think I might have photoshopped that. And he's counting the money he just stole. There's his girlfriend. There's a whiskey in a jar. You can tell he's the kind of guy that doesn't really care much about, but you can see the consistency of the character between this guy and this guy. When these things are flipping fast on the stage, you kind of get the idea that guy with the red beard is the main character. And so he's going with his brother. So then the band's just playing a long piece where they're not singing. Now I photoshopped the guy's face in there. The face was really messed up in the original. Now this is when you did high resolution. This was in version 4. All of them were in version 4. You can see how the skin was not very good.
No. Yeah, that's
I had to fix up a lot of skin. So what I did here, this is kind of cool, where this is the highwayman, but she's cheating on him. See, it's not the guy she really wants. And so I have him turn into another fellow. So I photoshopped him. But he doesn't care. He's just having a good time. And I did do some effects there. So then I'll show you.
One of the biggest challenges, of course, is just timing everything against the music, which must have been a bit of a headache for you.
Oh, well, yeah, because I didn't have the tracks. I had to use other tracks first from some,
Yeah.
other band, and then this band. And then when they practice it, sometimes they do it faster, sometimes they do it slower, and it was messing me up. So so again, I started 1800s, rough-looking highwayman with orange beard riding a galloping stallion on a dirt road in the woods in Ireland, high resolution, same thing that I used for all of them.
Mm.
This is the original face.
Yeah, definitely needed fixing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just took the face off of the other character. When I think it was this guy here,
That's a challenge in
one of
Midjourney,
them,
isn't it? When you have full body shots, the face is often lower uh, in
resolution. Yeah.
in quality. Yeah, you just end up with something that's not so good.
So this one was a grinning highwayman. Again, same high resolution, the same stuff.
And there's a lot of consistency there, isn't there? You've got the same kind of shaped beard.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a red bearded character. You've got a very similar looking hat between those three
Yeah, it was all for the
images.
same prompt.
Yeah, was that the same generation of four images? Is that the why it was consistent in this case?
Um, yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, so
And
that
so I had
certainly
a lot of
helps.
different ones to work with, and was perfect because I could use this guy for different parts of the song.
Yeah,
And so this one, I did the 1800s pretty Irish woman with light brown hair dressed in a pretty flower dress, embracing a rough-looking highwayman with reddish orange hair and beard. So I had to be very specific. And I think I colored the beard a little bit more. So this is the original one, and this is what it morphed into with this other guy. In Irish farmhouse, but didn't give me much background. Same volumetrics and all that stuff. And here's the attack scene. Again, 1800 ship captain being robbed by a rough-looking highwayman holding a dagger, high resolution, blah, blah, blah. Same thing. So this is the original. And then this is where I photoshopped the guy's head in there. I had to fix him up a little bit, make his hair redder so he would look more like this character here.
yeah.
So it's, a lot of stuff in Photoshop. And here's the face of this guy. This is original. This is enhanced. So this was 1800s Captain Farrell counting stacks of gold coins in a tavern in Ireland and being robbed by highwaymen. That's that one. So the next one is Sunny Side of the Street, which is a really interesting song. It's not the one you typically think of. So this is about a young man who's everyone wants him to be something he's not. You could tell his lip wasn't too good there, and the hands are kind of weird, but it kind of went quickly. So he's basically wasting his life away drinking, chasing women. He's depressed. And then his mother comes telling him how bad he is and he should do what she thinks is right. And that the mother was a separate render, and I took the background out, so I had her morph in there.
That is one scary mother,
yeah,
projected on the big screen. That would
yeah.
that would scare me.
And then he goes on a train. He goes on a trip. This is him. So I've tried to keep this kind of consistent character. These are kids in India with no shoes. That was part of this. These are some from the lyrics. He goes to Nepal. Then he's on the sunny side of the street. Every time I sing sunny side of the street, I put that character in there. He's in jail. One of the lines was, I don't want to come back as a snail. So I, and then he's in Rome at the Mardi Gras. He's all these different places he's visiting, but he's still not feeling good about himself because the mother's always in his mind saying how bad he is. But he decided he's going to stay on the sunny side of the street. I started out with a young man looking happy on the sunny side of the street, high resolution, blah, blah, same stuff for all of these. So I got, different versions of him. So I would use him for showing up. And this is the ending one where he's happy. Here's that same, looks like the same guy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He's in jail. It looks like he's younger here. He's getting off the train, just young man by himself, getting on a train with a knapsack on his back. Now here's the original scene. Young man sits at home, shamed by his mother, who stands above him with a disapproving look, high resolution, blah, blah. Well, I use what I do is see this is different. I put a different background here because this was kind of dull, but I really like this smoke coming out of here. It's almost like it's a dark cloud over his depression.
Yeah, it really adds to the mood of the scene. I notice you're using again and again volumetric lighting. Is that because you want a kind of a realistic look?
Yeah.
Realistic lighting in each of your scenes. Yeah.
So the next one is Hector the hero.
So we're back to the 1905, something like that, aren't we?
I basically tried to standardize the character, got some battle scenes because he was in so many different battles. Try to get a character that sort of looks similar. I suppose he changed his mustache. Now these are the battling the dervishes in the Battle of Omdurman.
Now, what's working for you is that Midjourney's not so great with crowd scenes, is it? Because all of the characters are looking very similar to each other. But what's working for you is that because it's a battle scene, all of the soldiers are wearing similar uniforms anyway. So it's all right. Yeah.
But here's telling stories to the kids. I had to fix the kids' faces up a lot. They were pretty messed up. And then he's being, hailed by the crowd. He's a hero. He's being knighted by the king of England. Then he dies. He commits suicide because it came out that he was a homosexual and he couldn't live with the fact that people were shaming him. So I just do his funeral and he kind of shows up there. And then he's like in the sky.
Yeah.
So I started out with, I wanted it to look like the guy. So I Major General Hector MacDonald as a young military man in uniform, high detail, color background, black background. So I didn't use the volumetrics because I wanted it to focus on the face. So
you could have easily have used a reference image because this is a real character from history, but you decided just to describe him as such.
Right.
Yeah.
And then here's this one was like 1880, seen from a distance as a young man. He's dressed in the uniform of the Gordon Highlander with black hair and a small black mustache. So I had to really kind of describe what I wanted here: the cobblestone streets, the people, the high detail, warm, happy feeling.
Yeah, that was a very detailed prompt, and you got something great out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And this one was 1880, young man, Sir Hector MacDonald, dressed in the uniform of the Gordon Highlander, because that was his troop. Black hair, small black mustache, looking kind and telling stories to a group of children who are delighting in the story. High detail. Now I'm going back to photorealistic, but I'm adding warm, happy feeling. Because I noticed I had to do that unless you would, somehow the people didn't look happy unless you added that.
Yeah.
And then for the ending, ghostly man, all white, riding a rearing ghostly white horse in the clouds. Mystical feeling, volumetric lighting, intense realism, and the same high detail stuff. And so this was the original. The guy was indistinct, and I put that head on him from one of the other characters that I got on Midjourney. And so the battles, this was the prompts: Battle of Omdurman, the Dervish army charging, volumetric lighting, the same stuff. And I got a lot of really great, I just love what they did with the...
Yeah, this kind of desert storm going on in that second image there.
Yeah, and I again brought the colors out and made them pop in Photoshop. It was a rather dull looking scene without it. So then there's Farewell to Ireland.
1900 still, that's a similar time period.
So it starts out showing how beautiful Ireland is.
Oh, the greenness of Ireland really comes through.
So here's the girl, she's our heroine. And this is when the music starts really getting going. So she's thinking she wants to go to New York. So I did, the render, and then I basically just brought it in. Here she is in her bedroom, packing her bags. This is her family. I had to fix, this guy's hand was messed up. I had to take my own hand and put it in there.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And now she's going away. Let's see, here's what the ship looks like.
Yeah, that's a good shot.
People loading, going to get the feeling of the crowd. Here she is looking kind of a little lost. Then the ship is leaving Ireland. And this is how she's feeling. I had to fix her eyes. And then, you know, it's not the Titanic, but they went by some. I just had to throw that in there. But see, it's a kind of similar character through the whole thing. And then she's there's a mirror, there's the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, there's enough visual cues to suggest it's the same character. The hairstyle.
Right. And I had to Photoshop that in as a reference. And then there's the shining city, and there she's got off the boat and she's happy. So let's go back to how I did this one. So if you notice that this is the same, 1900s, a beautiful, smiling and happy young Irish woman with long brown hair. So that was my throughout. And then this one is carrying her luggage and walking down the gangplank of an ocean-going ship with the skyline of the 1900s New York City before her. High detail, in color, very realistic, same stuff. Now, a lot of times I'll add dramatic and colorful sky with sun rays beaming down on the Statue of Liberty. I don't know if that's a Statue of Liberty, but and again, the same thing here. Cheering with her arms up in happiness near the railing of an ocean-going ship while the ship is cruising past the Statue of Liberty. Of course, it didn't give me that picture, but passengers walk around the deck and cheering, high detail, so you see all the cheering people. In color, because sometimes it was giving me black and white pictures, and I didn't want that, so you had to put in color. Very realistic, beautiful sky. Well, it doesn't really show. Dramatic and colorful sky with rays beaming down. It didn't show in this picture. But I also got this from the same prompt. And so here's how for the ship scenes, 1900s again, a beautiful young Irish woman with brown hair, same thing. This time dressed in a heavy coat, looking cold and standing by the railings of a 1900s ocean-going ship that is sailing past icebergs all around in high detail, in color, dramatic, colorful sky, volumetric lighting, photorealistic. I have to put in color a lot of times because 1900s, it's going to give you black and white.
Yeah, so even I've noticed prompts with things like 1950s, 1960s. You know, much of the time you'd end up with black and white images. Yes, yeah, that's an important point.
And here at 1900s ocean liner sailing past, it sees icebergs, no mast. I had to put no mast because it was putting mast all over the place. Colorful sky, sun rays shining down from dramatic clouds and the same old stuff. So I got that. And then there's the one in the bedroom. 1900s, beautiful young Irish woman with brown hair, same stuff, sitting on a bed with an open suitcase half packed with clothes in the bedroom of a quaint old Irish cottage, high detail, same stuff. So that's how I did that one. Now, John Roy.
So this is a little earlier in history now. This is the 1700s.
Yes, this is the 1700s. This is the Battle of Culloden.
Yep.
So here's John Roy. So I have him superimposed. You know, I had that was a separate piece. So I have all these battle scenes. He's showing up again.
What a hero. Yeah.
There he's hiding. And then what's interesting is this wanted poster. I wanted a wanted poster. And so it sort of looks like him, see? But I added the text because it had gibberish. So now they're looking for him. He's hiding in all these different places. They're checking all the cottages. He's hiding again. You can see the consistency of the character. So they're looking for him. And all the songs about, you know, they drain the bog and everything looking for him, think he's hiding in the bog. Then they give up. There's the wanted poster, and he appears again like he's triumphing. Shabby dressed with Beard, stern-looking Highlander man wearing a kilt, hiding in the reeds in the water, holding up a knife, reddish-brown hair, handsome, British redcoat, searching for him in the field beyond, high detail, photorealistic. So I got that. I had a whole bunch of other stuff, but I think that was the best one. And then this is British redcoats in the mid-1700s, setting fire to a forest. A stream rushes through the forest, soldiers looking behind the trees, high detail, dramatic, volumetric lighting, same thing, dramatic skies. So I got these where they're setting fire to the forest. Then shabby dress, I always start with that. Beard, stern-looking Highlander man wearing a kilt, hiding behind a tree in a forest, a dirk at his side, a pistol, a reddish-brown hair, handsome, British redcoat, searching for him in the field beyond. Of course, it didn't show some of those parts, but and here's the poster. I did mid-1700s wanted poster, drawn face of a handsome Scottish Highlander man, line art, old-looking paper. And that came up with that.
Yeah.
And then here's the one that I had to take all this background out. But that's where he kept appearing. Full body, well-dressed Highlander man wearing a kilt, dirk at his side, a pistol, reddish brown hair, handsome, black background, high detail, photorealistic. They did a really good job on that. And then the Battle of Culloden, high detail, dramatic, volumetric lighting, photorealistic, dramatic skies.
I think showing folks how you did the brightening of the colors in Photoshop, that could be good.
Okay, let me do that because I have Photoshop up here.
Yeah.
And I've got one all pro. So here's one of the renders. So it looks pretty dull, right?
Mm.
So first thing I do is I go image adjustments. I go to shadow highlights. Now it automatically brightens it up. And then with these sliders, I can brighten it to how I like it. Like you look, see, you get this is a little too much. I can get a little more detail in the clouds by bringing it to I just fool around with that. And this I do for my photos too. So here it's a little bit sharper. So I'm going to hit OK. The next thing I do is I go image. It always starts image, adjustments, vibrance. It's like loading a brush. I always do 12. You do too much, it's going to oversaturate. Then image, adjustments, and hue and saturation. So I first go to the reds, and I leave all of this stuff alone unless I need to do something with it. Saturation is the only thing I do. So I bring up the saturation of the reds. See how much is popping now?
Yeah.
And then I go to the yellow. Wow, look at that. Greens. Sometimes, if you don't have a lot of green, it won't work. So I just play around with this, and it brings it. You don't want to you don't want to do that. You don't want to oversaturate, but you want to bring a little bit in. Blues. So sometimes I'll oversaturate. Where's the blues? Okay, blues aren't really worth playing around with. Magentas usually don't do anything. So I just leave it at 0. So then after that, see, it's looking pretty good, but
already, yeah.
Now the next thing I do, this is really important, is exposure. I go to the right just a tiny bit to brighten it up. Look how clearer it is. This is what it was before with exposure.
Yeah, that pops really well.
Then the last thing I do is image adjustments levels. This is, you don't have to do this, but it's like tweaking. So I always bring these in just a little bit. And then I can just tweak it. And it's just a touch brighter. And then I save it. So that's basically what I do.
Yeah.
You could go into the the sharpen and all that stuff.
That's invaluable. Thank you. You've got a couple of other art pieces to talk about. So you've got a logo to show, and I think a book cover as well. Is that right?
Yeah, let's do the book cover first.
Okay.
So this is from my boyfriend, Arlo Byrd, who also has the band. His novel that just came out, King's Head Violin, Journey of a Paiute. And he's a violinist. And so I did the couple in Dolly. And it took me a long time. I'll tell you, it was really hard. But this one, they just that was perfect. And I added this to give him that Scottish look. The background was done in Midjourney. I said he wanted red rocks and a stream and stuff. And then this here was I put old violin with a king head. So the king's head I actually took. I was from a picture on the internet of a Scottish king. I forget his name now. And then the violin part right here to make it look old. And then this was just a violin off the internet from the 1700s. And that's basically how I did it.
So what were the challenges with getting the couple in Dali? What was difficult about that? And probably lots of re-rolling, I imagine. To get what you wanted, but yeah, what was the biggest challenge? Was it getting two
people together,
characters that were distinctly different and were sort of holding each other properly?
Yeah, that was the hardest part.
Yeah.
Especially a Native American girl. It was a lot of times giving me red hair on the girl. And even though I said a dark-haired Native American woman and a red-haired, bearded Scotsman in an embrace, and it gave me all kinds of stuff. Sometimes he would have the dark hair, she would have the red hair.
And it would up the attributes of the characters.
It would.
Yeah.
So here's the logo.
This is brilliant. Really, really clear lines and colorful and bold.
This is one piece of art this year, and it had all these circles around. I had Photoshop all that out. The bear was a separate piece of art, and I did that in Photoshop. I fixed it in Photoshop. It had like a little logo across it or something from somewhere, and I had to fix all of that because he liked this bear, so I wanted to use that one.
The bear was done in Midjourney 5?
Yes.
Yeah.
All this was Midjourney 5.
Yeah.
And then I just put the colors in Photoshop. I put these from Photoshop, the pipes, and then these little objects that are some sort of a healing energy things. So it's basically a logo so he's using Native American kind of ideas for coaching.
And what kind of prompt did you get to get such a clear design?
Well, for the bear, I used Native American medicine brown bear with concentric rainbow circles around it with the solid colors of red, yellow, green, blue, and orange, stylized, graphic logo style, white background. I always say white background if you want to be able to cut something out. And this is the one that was chosen. This is one I got. This is the full, you can see I had to cut all those lines out and stuff in Photoshop.
Yes, lots of interconnecting lines between the concentric rings. Yeah.
And I colored all of it too in Photoshop because it was black and white. So if you look at the logo, you can see that there's colors here.
Yeah, you put a lot of work into that for the coloring.
Yeah, I did. I have a few more, like there's Danny Boy. Now, it's the same kind of prompts that I used for the atmospherics and the high quality. And I would just say, Scotsman standing by a river playing the bagpipes, beautiful setting, Scotland. And so
it's quite consistent between the artwork of the Glens. Similar colors. Yeah.
So there's Danny Boy.
Did those icons, graphics appear within the same art generation?
No,
or did you
I put
add those in?
Yeah, those were like Celtic hearts, metallic looking, intricate, high detail. That's kind of prompts I used for that. Yeah. I got all kinds of beautiful, oh my God, I did 4-leaf clovers. I mean, there's more videos. So he's going off to war.
Which is what the song is about, isn't it? It's like
World War I.
Mother's lament or goodbye to her son, I think, going off to war.
Right.
Now, you've got some animations in there as well. What software did you do to prepare those?
I use Final Cut Pro. I love Final Cut Pro.
Yeah, great.
So here's they get the letter that he died. They're sad. There's the graveyard. And it's kind of the memory of him. And then his fiance.
So yeah, these images must have really helped enhance these live the live concert, and must have provided an extra level of experience for the audience. You must have been quite proud of what you've done.
Oh yeah, everybody loved it.
Great. I think we got some great information there, and it was nice to show that Photoshop technique as well. That'd be useful for folks. So that'll be a great takeaway, and hopefully that will inspire somebody somewhere in the world to create graphics for another live concert and to use Midjourney in that way, because I think that's a really interesting project. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for your time.
Well,
and
thank you, and thank you for all you do for the art community.